The most literal sense of tikva is a cord, a line, a length of something twisted and strong enough to hold on to. Scholars who track these words point out that the same root gives Hebrew its word for a measuring line. The cord a builder stretches taut between 2 points to keep a wall straight. So the family of words clusters around one idea over and over. A line pulled tight between here and there. Between where you are standing and where you are headed. Between the present you can see and the future you've been promised.
Now, a word of caution before we go further, because this is exactly the kind of thing people run too far with. The point is not that there is a secret code buried in the letters, or that Hebrew is a magic decoder ring that unlocks hidden meanings English speakers are too dull to see. Hebrew is a real language with real boundaries. The point is simpler and better than a secret code. It is that the people who first used this word pictured hope as something physical. When they wanted to talk about expecting God to come through, the nearest thing in their hands was a rope. So that is the word they used. Sit with what that does to the idea. When you say, "I hope," you usually mean you are not sure. The word itself carries the doubt. But the Hebrew runs the other direction. To have tikva is to be tied to something. You are not floating. You are not wishing into the dark. You have taken a cord, fastened one end to a promise, and you are holding the other end with both hands. The waiting is real. You may not see the outcome yet, but you are not adrift. You are tethered, and you are leaning toward the thing you are tethered to. That is a completely different posture than crossing your fingers. So what happens when this word stops being a definition in a lexicon and shows up in an actual story, tied to an actual window, in a city that is about to fall? Go back to Jericho. It is the very beginning of Israel's life in the land, around the time the nation crosses the Jordan after a generation in the wilderness. Jericho sits in the Jordan Valley, one of the oldest continuously settled places on earth, a fortified Canaanite city of walls and gates guarding the way up into the hill country. It is the first real obstacle standing between Israel and the land they were promised. Joshua, who has taken over leadership after Moses, sends 2 spies ahead to scout it. The spies end up in the house of a woman named Rahab. The Bible does not clean up who she was. She was a prostitute, living in the wall of a pagan city, with no claim on Israel's God, and no obvious reason anyone would expect her to matter. Her house was built into the city wall itself, which tells you something about her place in that society. People on the margins lived in the wall, and yet she had heard the stories. Word travels along trade routes, and the news had reached even Jericho. What this God did at the sea, what he did to the kings on the way through the wilderness. The whole city had heard the same reports she had. The difference is what she did with them. She made a decision the men of her own city did not make. While the king and his soldiers braced to fight the God of Israel, Rahab quietly concluded he was the real God of heaven and earth, and she threw her lot in with him before there was a single visible reason to think it would work out. Her own words, when she talks to the spies, are a confession of faith stronger than anything most of Israel had managed in 40 years of wandering. "Your God," she says, "is God."